We some wolves, got the pack and it's boof. Wish you would pick the slack cause it's loose. Get the bag, pop the tag, then we move.
The Migos, one of the best and most popular hip-hop groups of all time.
We the biggest group ever.
That way.
After first really blowing up back in 2013 with their debut commercial single Versace, then followed by their first #1 album Culture a few years later, again Migos is one of the most well-known names in music. However, there has seemed to be some drama within the group as of recent. Despite the trio actually being blood-related, many people have speculated that the Migos are no longer together, after fans would first notice that both Quavo and Offset unfollowed each other on Instagram back in May, then with Quavo and Takeoff announcing their own collab album as a new duo known as Unc & Few, as well as with the fact that the trio hasn't been seen with each other in over 5 months, even mysteriously dropping out of multiple headlining festivals recently with no real reason. There has definitely been a lot of talk about this being the end of the Migos. So in this video, we're going to answer that question. Did the Migos split up? Quavo, Offset, and Takeoff, the 3 Atlanta rappers who are again actually blood-related. With Quavo and Offset being cousins and Takeoff as Quavo's nephew, the trio was raised together by Takeoff's mother, which would also be Quavo's older sister. And as the 3 grew up very closely and all had an interest in music, they would first form their hip-hop group Migos in 2008, although they originally called themselves the Polo Club. But again, the Migos would first really rise to fame thanks to their breakout single Versace a few years later in 2013, along with also getting Drake to hop on the remix that same year.
I told him we gotta do something. And then when I think I sent him something out the mixtape. He was like, if I do anything, it gotta be Pronto, something out the tape. Like Pronto, Adios, or Versace. So we just sent him Versace.
Yeah, he sent it back ASAP.
Then followed by their first #1 album Culture in January of 2017, again Migos had become one of the most popular hip-hop groups of all time. However, as we would see with their latest project, their long-awaited 4th studio album Culture 3 last year, despite still selling a solid 130K first week, there just didn't seem to be much hype for this album. After not really dropping anything for over 3 years, including multiple delays to the project due to COVID, it seemed like a lot of people forgot about the group and were saying that they fell off. And along with Culture 3 being labeled as the 3rd and final installment of their Culture trilogy, many fans now believe it will be the last Migos project ever. So a few months ago, back in May of this year, fans noticed that Offset had unfollowed both Quavo and Takeoff on Instagram, as well as his partner Cardi B also unfollowed the pair. And this news actually arrived on the exact same day that Quavo and Takeoff announced that they would be dropping music together as a new duo under the name Unc & Few, a reference to their family ties. And not only would they drop their first single, Hotel Lobby, a few days later with a music video, but then they would also just recently announce a whole collab album which will be dropping on October 7th, titled Only Built for Infinity Links, with Quavo tweeting, "We begin a new chapter," at Takeoff. And while as of the time I'm recording this, the tracklist has not been announced, I'm pretty confident that there won't be a single Offset feature on this album. But after the news back in May of them unfollowing each other along with Quavo and Takeoff announcing their new duo, fans would quickly jump to the conclusion that Offset was likely jealous they were dropping music without him. However, this was not the first time we had seen the group release music without all 3 of them present.
I ain't left off Bad and Bougie. You think I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
Say again?
You say I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
What you say?
You say I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
Yeah.
Do it look like I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
What'd you say?
Do it look like I'm left off Bad and Bougie?
Nah.
Back in 2018, following the release of Culture 2, the Migos had announced that they would each be experimenting with dropping solo projects. Quavo would be first with his debut album Quavo Huncho, then Takeoff with The Last Rocket, followed by Offset with Father of Four. And while all of these solo albums did perform fairly well, in my opinion they also clearly showed how much better they are as a group. I think each member definitely has their strengths, and when they all come together their music is significantly better. But I already did one of my older videos where I discussed this more in depth, so maybe check that out too after this one. However, when asked about why Quavo has decided to start this new duo without Offset, Quavo said this: "I feel like y'all know the Offset story," referring to his cousin's very public relationship with Cardi B and with all of the media attention while Offset was in jail. "But I feel like the world doesn't really know about me." Which, while I would agree that Offset is now the most recognizable member of the group due to his marriage with Cardi B, I would also argue that when most people think of the Migos, they think of Quavo, as he's always been the face and leader of the group. So that comment about people not really knowing Quavo was pretty interesting. Just like this awkward answer he also gave back in May when asked if the group had split up.
A lot of people concerned the band's breaking up, right? Anything you can say?
No.
Nothing to say?
No.
Then to add to the rumors even more, 1 month later it was announced that the Migos had pulled out of their headlining performance at the 2022 Governor's Ball Festival in June. This announcement came just 3 days before their scheduled performance, and according to a label rep was because Quavo was busy filming a new movie, and they couldn't make it work around the schedule conflict. But Governor's Ball wouldn't be the only festival that the Migos dropped out of either. As we just saw last weekend, they would also be mysteriously removed from the lineup at Rolling Loud Toronto, with no reason given for their absence. Along with back in June at the Lyrical Lemonade Summer Smash Festival, only Quavo and Takeoff would perform their set as the Migos, with Offset nowhere to be found. However, as of recent, with the news of Quavo and Takeoff dropping music together, Offset has also been releasing more of his own solo songs, including his most recent single, a fire track titled Code featuring Moneybagg Yo, actually on the same day that Unc and Few dropped their newest single, Big Stunna. And Offset even just performed his new solo tracks on Jimmy Fallon as well.
Performing Code and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, once again, Offset!
So now that we've gone over all of the facts, let's get back to the question. Did the Migos split up? Let me first say that I have no type of inside information here. We're just going off what we went over. But if you ask me, I think something may have actually happened behind the scenes. It could be true that Offset wasn't happy with Quavo and Takeoff's new duo and didn't approve of it. It could be true that Quavo was a little jealous of how popular Offset was getting. Or it could be true that something else happened that we don't know about. But again, all signs have pointed towards a conflict between Offset and the other members, as he has now even removed the 1/3 of the Migos description in his bio, which Quavo and Takeoff still have. Or it could also all just be for promotion.
They're just promoting a song. This is what I think. The Migos can never break up. I'm gonna be honest with you. The Migos are so fucking iconic.
It makes sense that they would want to generate some media buzz around their names, since like DJ Academic said, they could use it as promotion for their new music, and since again the Migos just don't have the same hype they once did. But at the end of the day, the Migos are still family, and one of the biggest hip-hop groups of all time. So while they may be going through some issues at the moment, I do not think this will be the last we'll ever see of the trio. They may just need a little straightening. Back in June, Quavo also gifted Takeoff a new chain for his birthday, and as we can see, it features all 3 members of the group. So is this the end of the Migos? Well, if you ask me, I don't think so. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Let's get it. Hop off a 16 passenger. This a G5, no, this not a Challenger. Big one.